Hey everyone, I'm Kim, Backward Picking. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to build processes in your small business and how to do this a way that works. So building processes sounds really easy, right? You just write down what you're doing, you make a checklist, and you're done. Well, not quite. It's a little more to that. And if you're an e-commerce seller or a small business owner, processes can make the difference between chaos and consistency. So today I'm going to show you how to actually build a process that works, keeps you on your toes, and helps you and your team save time and money. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, I'm Kim from Backward Picking and eComm Connected. I've been working with small businesses and e-commerce sellers for over 20 years to help them organize, help them streamline and scale their small businesses. So if you're ready to spend a little less time putting out fires and a little more time growing your business, let's get right into this. Hit that like button and subscribe so you can follow along with all of the tips and tricks that I offer. So why do processes matter? Well, they're not just steps on a piece of paper. They're about creating consistency. So if you're answering a customer's email, you're shipping orders, or you're creating a listing, if there's not a process, things can slip through the cracks. And when things slip through the cracks, you lose sales, you waste money, and you can burn out your team if you have one. So let's define the outcome and the scope of a process, because that's how we start. We start by asking ourselves, what does success look like when we create this task? And that sounds really simplistic, right? So as an example, what does success look like when I'm creating a listing? Well, success is the product went live for us, a product went live on eBay. What is the scope? The scope is what the process starts and ends with. So it starts when the product is purchased and it ends when the listing is live. But what happens in between is the process, and we're going to map that out. So if we map out our current workflow, and that's what you need to do to create a process, I want you to create a map of your current workflow. Don't overthink it. Just grab some sticky notes or a piece of paper or use a Google Sheet, whatever you need to. Write down the steps that you actually take today to do whatever it is you're trying to improve. Not what you wish you did, but what you actually do. And this is where you're going to start, and you're going to see bottlenecks and wasted efforts if you just write down everything that you do now. Every process has a happy path. So let's document those paths and the exceptions, because when you have that path and the smooth version of it is everything works perfectly, here's the kicker. Exceptions are where most businesses fail. So let's say that you're doing that listing. The happy path is that we buy, we write, we photo, it's live. Perfect. But what happens if the item needs cleaned? If it doesn't fit on a shelf? If we can't find a comp to price it from? How do we move forward with those things? So we document these what ifs, and then we say, if this happens, then do this. And we create a process for what to do when a what if happens. And we assign ownership. Every piece of the process has to have an owner. Processes don't live in a vacuum. Someone has to own them. And if you run a small team, ownership might mean that you handle purchases, your assistant handles photography, maybe the put away, and you have a VA that handles writing the listings. That way everyone knows who's accountable for what. Now, this is similar to what we do. And I'm going to give you a real live example here in just a minute. So next, we have to measure it. If you don't measure what's happening, you can't improve your metrics and figure out where you can do better and make more money, maybe get more listings out there. So pick 2 or 3 metrics that are important to you. For me, it was figuring out purchasing time. How long does it take me to purchase things? Are we going out to thrift stores? When we were, that's a pretty lengthy process for purchasing things. What's easier? Estate sales, buying out collections from houses, buying collections from people. These are easier ways to profitability. Hitting maybe flea markets or something like that. You have to figure it out. For us, for listings, One of the ways to measure it is everything getting listed correctly? Do we have good descriptions? Are our customers complaining that things are getting to them and that the item is not as described or not as photographed? Those are ways to measure it. And then for us also is how fast do we process? So these are all things that we measure, and how fast we process is based on where is it on the shelf? Is it accurately represented in our inventory and on our inventory sheet so we can get to it very quickly and process it back out the door? Keep it simple, keep a spreadsheet, use a dashboard, create a document, whatever works for you. Now, once you've done this, you want to train, test, and refine. And that means that you've written it all down and you've figured some of this out. And you're going to start training, whether it's yourself and maybe an assistant or an entire team. You need to walk people through these things that you're working on step by step. Once you've figured this out, it might take the whole team to figure out your processes. That's okay. Then you test these on a small scale. As you've done these processes and you've written it down, testing it on a small scale, maybe 1 or 2 products live, maybe 1 shift, and you ask, did this make life easier? Is it faster? Is it less stressful? If not, refine it. Processes should be living documents and they're updated as your business grows. Now, remember that not all processes are going to make things faster immediately. And I'll give you an example. Inventory. People hate keeping inventory. And as someone who's worked in that business for many, many years, I have heard it all. Having to record it, having to scan things in, having to do something, it slows people down. Yes, maybe it does for a moment, but you get better at it. You get better at adding it into where you need to. And when you're processing an item back out, it makes it much easier. And as you grow, if you're not the only person in your business, everybody needs to know how to find things quickly. So you create shelving inventory areas and you assign them as you go. And I'm not getting into that today. That's a whole other video. So we're going to move on. Examples for e-commerce sellers. Breaking this into steps. Each step should include something like this, a trigger. So what starts the process? This is step 1. An action. How is the process done? For us, it's going to be steps 2 through 4 that I'm going to give you an example of. How is it checked? How is it validated? For us, it's going to be steps 5 and 6 in the example I'm giving you. And then, who is the owner? I have assigned an owner every direction or every step through these processes that I'm going to give you an example of. And then any tools or systems or resources that are needed should be noted in your processes. So here's a real life example from my business on how listing a product works in our business. Step 1, the owner of this step is me. This is our trigger. The item is purchased for resale and it is brought into our business. That is the first step, and it is the trigger to start the process for listing an item on eBay. Step 2, the owner is Kevin. It is to check the item for flaws, see if it needs cleaned. If it is good, then it is eligible to list on eBay. Kevin creates a listing in eBay with just a title. He assigns an inventory number and adds it to our inventory sheet. He copies and pastes that title right into the sheet. He takes a single photo of the item showing the inventory number that's on a Post-it note and the item together on a scale with the weight of the item. All of that's in one photo. So that photo has 3 pieces of information in it. It has the item, which is the picture of the item. It has the Post-it note with the inventory number, and it has the item weight. This is useful later. He then sends the item to the local team so that they can begin photography. But what happens if it's not eligible to list? Because that's an exception. He then has to decide what happens to it. And our choices are that it goes into a pile for me to deal with to go to Peddler's Mall, or it can go into a box of things that we're going to use to put into Whatnot shows, or it can go in a donation pile and go back to Goodwill or go wherever we want to donate things. Step 3, owner local team. First step, photograph the item from all angles. They have a process for this. They have to do the top, the bottom, and all the sides. They zoom in for flaws, for issues, and for special features such as signatures or information on the bottom, something special that's on it. They take photos also with a tape measure with the height, the length, and the width of the item. These are all for our lister to have that information. They assign a shelf location and they log the item into the shelf location, and then they put it on the shelf. Step 4, the owner is our virtual assistant. She is then responsible to correct the title. If needed, it probably will be. And she needs to make that very keyword rich. She has a process for this. She needs to write the description. That description has a process. That process includes that she needs to have a color, the measurements, any flaws and features, the item weight, and any useful information about the item, such as the age and the history. Without this process, she may not know what to put into the description. And we need the description box to be as complete as possible, because we use this information to cross-post to other marketplaces. And when you only list certain things in item specifics on eBay or in their area on eBay where you give the items new or used and what the condition is, that information does not translate to other venues. So this is why our process says that you must, in the description, cover the color, the measurements, the flaws, the weight, and all the useful information. Next, the VA's job is to research for prices, and then she assigns a selling price based on her research. She has multiple places that she researches, and she has a process for this. She now has to determine a shipping weight. She adds the item weight that we have given her in that photograph that you saw at the beginning, and she adds that to the box weight of the item. That box is based on the size of the item that she has in photographs. She now adds all the photographs into the listing that have been loaded into Google. And because our people have taken pictures of them with the information that is needed, she knows exactly what photos go into that listing. She then makes sure that she removes any unneeded photos, such as the original photo that was put in there with a lot of googling up, and we don't need our customers to see that. The first photo taken is always removed, always. And that is what our VA does. That was step 4. That is what her job is. Step 5, it comes back to us, to the people that own the business. Kevin is responsible for making the items live. He ensures there's an accurate title, and he does a quick double check on the weight to make sure that the shipping weight is what it should be. And he'll often also look at the price. That's not necessarily needed because I do a price check later. But that is how we make it go live. So that's our validation. Our final validation is when I do a price check. After he makes things live, within just a few hours, I do price checks of things. Sometimes I do them before they go live. It really depends on the item. If we have very high-end or very low-end items, I'm doing the price checks before they ever go live, before Kevin makes them live. So steps 5 and 6 that Kevin and I own for validation and making it go live can be switched, and they will be. So this is a simple, clear, repeatable path of what to do to get our items listed. And it sounds like a lot of steps, but it's really not. It's what everybody is doing when they list a product. I have just broken it down into very minute steps to get it through. Now, what I have to remember and what you need to know is to document the exceptions. If X happens, then Y is taken. We've done this when we've determined if we're going to sell it. And then what is the escalation path? Well, if we're not listing it, we have a path of what to do next. Do we donate it? Do we take it somewhere else? Then we have the alternate tools and resources. If there are alternate tools and resources, then those go back into the listing pile and it starts over when we need to do something. For instance, if something needs cleaned, then Kevin will put it over to clean it and it starts over. And then we make the determination, oh, are we going to list this? Are we going to donate it? It starts over. So you have to define your metrics, because the reason for creating these processes is so that you have metrics and so you can grow, right? And so you can be a better business, so you can make more money. Processes should be measurable. They should be something that you can figure out what is going right and what might not be going right. By my process that I have just given you, I can figure out the time to list. I can measure that. And then by that, I can determine the number of listings that we can complete in a week or a day. Generally in a week, because not everything is done in a vacuum and not everything is done immediately. Finally, after you get all this done, make sure you have written it all down. And until it is a habit, you need to follow it. And if it becomes less of a habit and you start seeing problems, you need to pull it out and you need to follow it. So there's some common pitfalls that you should avoid when you're creating processes. First of all, writing down the ideal process without documenting exceptions. It really is important to document your exceptions. You know, for us, something we have documented, and I didn't go over in this, is what if we're selling a $300 item and we can't find a comp on it? Well, we have a process for that. Actually, it comes to me when it is there. That is sent to me, and my job is to figure it out because I'm really good at research. And I can usually find something that's similar. But if not, it's based off of research of items that are close and how much we paid for the item. There is a process for it. Next, make sure that you're assigning ownership to every single part of the process. If there's no ownership of a part of a process, then your process fails. So in our case, if Kevin completes the part of making sure that the item is ready to be listed and it doesn't get to the person that's supposed to do the photography because we don't have anyone assigned to that, then it fails. It doesn't matter because it's never going any further. It's not going to get to our person that does the listing. It's just dead in the water. And then finally, ignoring your metrics. If you're not measuring it, it can't be improved. So you need to watch what you're doing. As you create these processes, track what you're doing. I have a very simple metrics sheet that I keep that shows me my sales each month, how many items I've listed each month, how many items have sold, and I look at my traffic. I believe that's it. I just have a few items on there. It's very easy to get all of the information right off of the reports in Etsy, eBay, and my website. So it's very easy to see what's going on. So really, the bottom line is a process isn't one and done. It's built, it's tested, it's measured, and then it's continuously improved. Things that I love. You start simple, you document clearly, and you refine with real world data. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the back road.